Hi folks, I've got a Sofirn SP33 version 3 to have a look at today, and as obvious from the outset, it's a bit of a chunk. Let's grab my 31 and put it alongside so you can see the differences in the dimensions there. And if you're happy to take a jump in size, you're going to get three things in return. A larger lens, that's going to massively help the performance of the lumen output. You're going to get the ability to carry a larger battery, in this case a 26650. That's going to have a massive impact for us on the run times over an 18650 form factor light. And also the sheer amount of aluminium in the light allows for some pretty impressive heat sinking in there, and this amount of aluminium will absorb and dissipate the heat a lot better than a smaller bodied light. And we've got, that's a Cree 50.2 stuck down in there as well. Notoriously hot running little buggers they are, so we'll come back to the heat tolerances shortly. Let's have a look to see what the light comes with. I've got the box somewhere knocking around if you're interested in that. We've got an adapter so we can use a different type battery, a lanyard, 18650 included within it, and operationally wise are pretty straightforward. USB charging C in there, really like that, the C charging, and it's a simple one click on, one click off. In the on mode, if we're in the ramping mode, we can just, not ramping, stepped, we can just cycle through our modes, or we can change it to a ramping mode if we wish. There's no fancy bells and whistles with it, and that's one of the things that's really appealed to me with this light. I've been using it now for several weeks. Your kind of smaller models, I mean, you can't pump out as much power, of course, so you know that's one reason to move towards something a little bit bigger. And if you do want to pump out the power in terms of turbo, you're going to kind of suffer in terms of its run times. This one here, I've found, kind of takes us completely away from, you know, that type of operation, and we've got something that's going to give us pretty decent run times. On the turbo, I was getting about 4 minutes at worst. And a lot longer on the other modes as well as the enhanced run times. So let's have a quick look at the manual and see what it's telling us. We've got the standard stuff there, you can pause and have a look at that if you like. In terms of its run times, on its stepped mode, low, medium, high and turbo, 150, 450, 1600, 3500. Look at the turbo, 3500, 1 hour 53 minutes. 2 hours 21 on high. That's blooming impressive, that is. Drop resistant, you know, the usual stuff. But pause there if you want to have a look at those. We do have the ramped mode, as I mentioned. The temperature regulation, it's set at 45, 55 and 65. So the hotter we get, the more the heat regulation will kick in. You did hear me briefly mention there that I was getting 4 minutes, so what I will do is tuck in on the end the heat time, where, you know, put the little lux meter out and just show you how long it will run for, and it's pretty impressive. So I think that's everything covered. Let's take him out and show you what it can do. Hi folks, I'm out with the Sofirn on its lowest setting, and as you can see, quite a lot of useful light there. That's due to the lens, the size of the lens, using the available lumens to the maximum. Let me scroll through. Next. That's pretty good, isn't it? Up one. Back down again. That's our high mode. I reckon he's something creeping around as usual. And we're going to call that a floody beam or more of a balance beam. It's not just making it down and cutting into that black hole in the path there, is it? Excuse me. But it's not a full-blown floody, as in it is still getting some distance on there. I'm going to call this a little bit more of a balanced, and then turbo. And that's impressive, isn't it? And those run times as well. If you have a look at the heat test at the end that I'll bob on, indoors I was getting 4 minutes constant power, not 4 minutes losing power, 4 minutes at full power, and then starts to tail off. I guess that'll change depending on where you're using it, but for a light of this size, it's relatively compact. I think that's pretty phenomenal output and performance, in my opinion. So I'll move on and catch up with you when I'm in a slightly different spot. I'm a bit further on with the Sofirn now, folks, just on high, not turbo. Those two trees there, when I was asking myself earlier on, you know, is it kind of a balanced floody? I don't know. You tell me. I'm not quite sure how to describe this beam profile, but it's certainly doing that distance there, and there's our turbo. There is no shortage of distance on the throw, is there? And as we move down the side of this lake, balance come floody, that's what I'll call it. Balance come floody beam. Pretty impressive though. Something else I noticed as well, in fact, let me change the power to there we go, medium. So I've been wandering around tonight just on it's medium, just perfect. In fact, let me change it to low. So what I've noticed with this, and I haven't noticed it with any of the Sofirns before, it's me being thick, but this particular one, using on its low, for example now, if I hit turbo, quick blast, one press, takes me back to where I was, which I found is really, really handy for what I'm using it for. It's not an EDC type light, is it? But this type of activity, what are you going to call it? Anything for extended use outside. I've got the battery power, I've got the power that we've, the output that we've looked at there, but also this convenience, because I'm not wandering around, of course, on high or turbo all the time. I'm kind of more using it at this kind of moderate level. But I really like that. Bam, straight into turbo. You know, oh, there's nothing there, or whatever it is I want to look at. One press, back down to where I was. If I'm on medium, bam, up to turbo, one press, back to where I was. Really, really been liking that feature for what I'm using this light for. So this one for me is going to be one of my keepers. I look at these lights, some I decide now I'll get rid of it, or you know it's okay, not for me, you know, whatever. This one's going to be a keeper. And the heat, final comment on the heat there, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, in fact I mentioned it a couple of times. It's not particularly cold tonight, and I'm getting a lot better than 5 minutes on its turbo. It's about 10 degrees, but there's no wind, so really, really chuffed with it. Thanks, folks. So let's just show you how the Sofirn does on its highest mode now in terms of the heat. So pop it up to turbo. What are we reading on the lux meter there? 166. Start the timer. Nice and cool. Let's leave it running and see what happens. Just coming up now to 2 minutes. If you recall, the first temperature threshold or the first ATR threshold is 45. As we can see now, we're over 2 minutes. 35 versus 45, so not a particularly hot running light. As you can see from the lux meter as well, we're not experiencing any power loss. Let's leave it going. Okay, we're just at 4 minutes now. As you can see, we've hit the threshold, and we can see from the lux meter down there that the light has started to back off. So we've got a good 4 minutes on turbo, and it's held that pretty consistently. And then as soon as it hit that temperature, then it's backed off, as the manual says accordingly. Okay.